What's going on, guys, and welcome back here to another weather video. Hope you guys are doing all right out there. So we have a lot of updates here for y'all. First of all, happy Easter to you guys. I hope y'all have an amazing Sunday here for today. Glad to have y'all here for a quick little weather update. Now, there is a few things, like I said, we do need to talk about. Obviously, with this potential, or I should say, this big hurricane, or what we call a typhoon, in northwestern Australia. Like I said, this is just simply a system we should not ignore. So to my Australian friends out there, you might want to really listen up to this one. We'll also be talking about the possibility of severe weather here for the 15th, as I've been browsing the models here for the last day or so, and I've came to the conclusion that it does look like severe weather of all kinds could be possible. Now, I really think that damaging winds is the main concern, followed by hail, and maybe a few tornadoes could not be ruled out, but we'll talk more about that here in a moment. But anyways, guys, before we go ahead and get on into it, I want to go ahead and ask, if you have not already, please consider hitting that subscribe button and leaving a like. Be greatly appreciated. All right, my friends, once again, happy Easter, and let's get on into it. All right, so starting off here with the hurricane situation, or the typhoon situation that we have here in northwestern Australia, taking a look here at the HWRF model. Now, this is a really well-known hurricane model whenever it comes to tropical cyclones. Once again, we're taking a look here at northwestern Australia, taking a look at the precipitation in regarding to the storm here. So here we go. So we drive way down in time. Obviously, the time is just right below me. If you guys want to follow along, this is an Eastern time, by the way. This is not locally to Australia. This is locally to the Eastern United States here. But anyways, we drive our way down here in time, and you notice how well formed this eye is. I mean, seriously, a perfect sphere. Really looking pretty crazy. So overall, this thing will be rolling through. As you can see, the time here is basically 4/11 at 11 p.m. Now, this thing will be causing some big problems once we move towards like the 12th. That's when you're going to really start to feel it kicking off here. Now, honestly, just as a little bit of a heads up to my friends out there, if you know anyone near Port Hedland, anywhere near those regions between Port Hedland as well as, I don't know if that's Brome or Broome, but that regions, between those areas, definitely got to watch out for it. Also, if you're here towards like, let's see, Karatha, I definitely would consider watching this one as well, because this hurricane, or this typhoon, I'm so used to calling it, hurricanes, because I'm used to the American tropics. But like I said, regardless of what it is, typhoon, hurricane, same thing, honestly. Like I said, this is definitely going to be a very serious situation for the people in northwestern Australia. I mean, look at that landfall of a nearly perfect sphere. Got some very, very heavy rain bands out there, according to the HWRF model, showing anywhere from like 58 dBz, maybe near 60. That's like torrential rainfall. So now the good news out of this is that once it hits land, it is expected to speed up here quite a bit. That is definitely the good news out of the system. Now, I'm not saying that flooding will not be a concern, which it definitely surely will. But it's not going to be as bad. It could be a lot worse, which is definitely some overall good news. But like I said, that's kind of what we're looking at out there. All right, so whenever it comes to the max expected winds out of this, it is absolutely ridiculous here. Like I said, this thing is forecasted to be a Category 5 typhoon impacting northwestern Australia. So we track way down in time here. Once again, still taking a look at the HWRF model. I mean, look at this beast. I mean, it's going to be getting very close, if not a direct landfall there towards Port Hedland. So I would definitely watch out for this. I mean, look at this. The model is supporting the possibility of these, these winds here being in excess of 140 knots, which is around 150 to 155 miles an hour, which is right there kind of at that Category 5 boundary there. But look at this. As we track way down here even further, it might even pick up a little bit more intensity, maybe even a little bit more stronger in some of those regions. I mean, once again, this is sustained winds. This is not gusts. Gusts could be much more higher. So, like I said, this thing is forecasted to be a Category 5 here. So, overall, this is going to be causing some big issues. Now, the landfall is kind of expected here. Once again, this is in Eastern time, so this is for kind of the late evening, almost the early 13th for the Eastern American time, essentially. So, like I said, it's a little concerning, so we'll keep our eyes on it. Alrighty, so now whenever it comes to your overall Easter forecast here across the country, we're just going to do a quick little view and telling you what kind of weather we could expect at certain locations. So you might want to listen up if you live across the U.S. So for today, being on Easter, I do have some very great news for you guys. So obviously, we just had a lot of rain across the southeast that will be definitely moving its way out of the region. It will be out here by the time you even wake up. The time you're watching this video, this will be out, which is definitely some good news. Now, you notice how there's a big old H right over here. Actually, you cannot see that because my webcam's in the way, but there's a big H over here as well. That stands for high pressure. And what does high pressure bring? A lot of good conditions regarding a lot of abundant sunshine as well as no precipitation. So that's definitely some good news. Now, I will tell you guys that there is a possibility of a few thunderstorms, possibly even a few severe thunderstorms today across portions here of kind of northwestern Texas. I kind of drew where the overall severe weather is expected. Let me actually go ahead and fix that here just a little bit. So kind of right around in these regions there. So possibility for a few strong to severe thunderstorms in which hail and damaging winds is a concern. No threat for tornadoes. So no tornadoes are expected on Easter, which is definitely some good news. Now, if you live across portions here of the Northwest, that's going to be a little bit of a different story regarding not expecting anything really. We are seeing a big old jet of moisture driving its way across the upper Northwest, which will be kicking off here basically from the late morning into, I hate to say it, but all the way through Easter here. So if you guys are out there towards especially like Seattle, Washington, you're probably going to be dealing with a soaking Easter out there. Alrighty, also, like I said, there is going to be the possibility for a few strong to severe thunderstorms across portions of like northwestern Texas. This also does include a very small sliver of southeastern New Mexico. Now, look at this. Tornado probability is less than 2%, so that's definitely some good news. We don't want any Easter Bunny tornadoes out there today, so that's definitely some good things. Whenever it comes to damaging winds, we have a 5% chance of seeing damaging winds, maybe 60 miles an hour, within a 25-mile by 25-mile box. So basically, anywhere within a 25-mile box, in all ranges, we're talking a 5% chance of damaging winds, possibly up to 60 miles per hour. And same thing applies to hail. As you can see, it's not really changing, but I am going back between hail and damaging winds. You can kind of see a little difference there, but overall, we are expecting a 5% chance of seeing hail, quarter size, or potentially larger out of some of the storms. So overall, the threat is the threat is pretty low overall. Alrighty, guys. Now, before we go ahead and move on into the severe weather probability as well as a potential tropical cyclone, you heard me right, a potential tropical cyclone in the Gulf of Mexico. It's what we call a subtropical cyclone. I'll talk more about that here in a moment. But before we go ahead and get into that, make sure you check out the links down below as we do have a very cool and rockin' merch shop. So definitely consider checking that out. Also following us on Twitter at NWW1162, and we have a Discord down below as well. So feel free to check all that out. And all right, let's go ahead and talk about more tropics. Alrighty, you guys. So whenever it comes to this potential tropical system, or we call a subtropical cyclone in this case, we are tracking down here in time. We're taking a look at the American GFS, by the way. So we move our way down in time. Now we move through the 10th into the 11th, and that's whenever things start to get a little interesting. Once we move into the 12th, kind of the early 12th, you notice all these winds are screaming and pointing right there towards southeastern Louisiana's coast. Now, if you guys live out there, you might want to watch out because this could cause a bit of swelling, a bit of rising sea level. Could be possible because all of the winds are pushing all of this water inland. So keep that in mind. Now, it's not going to be anything like extreme like a hurricane would be or anything like that. This is much more weaker than a hurricane. So like I said, no reason to spread the panic. Nothing panic inducing. It's just something that you should watch out for. So a little bit of swelling could be possible whenever it comes to these wind gusts. Now, look at this. Overall, this is in miles an hour. Once again, as we track way into the early 12th, that's kind of whenever the heaviest effects are going to be here. We are seeing the possibility of, this is pretty gusty winds, maybe there for like Louisiana popping off, maybe 35 to 45 mile an hour wind gusts, which that does put those wind gusts into that tropical storm range. Now, like I said, this is not a tropical storm. A lot of people get this mixed up. This is what we call a subtropical storm, which, like I said, subtropical storms do not have all the characteristics in order to be classified as a tropical system. Now, they do indeed have some very, very similar traits regarding overall the same mechanisms and how they work. The only main difference in this case is that the surface temperatures of the ocean is cooler than tropical standards. So that makes this a subtropical cyclone. Now, another thing that is a little bit concerning out of this cyclone here is that we might be dealing with the possibility of a few tornadoes along with it. Now, there's something we call cyclone-induced tornadoes. Now, what this is basically due to the rotation of the cyclone here. On the right-hand side, this is where we have a lot of available energy, where all the strongest winds are. That is the region where tornado conditions are possible. And when taking a look here at the American GFS model, there is enough instability in the atmosphere, especially on the right-hand side. Like I said, we saw the cyclone right here. Here's where the low pressure is. Use Louisiana as the low because it looks like an L. But the low pressure system as of now is expected to kind of roll its way towards Louisiana. The good news is that this thing has been weakening in the last few models, so that's definitely some good news. But there just might be enough energy in the atmosphere to possibly fire off a few tornadoes. Maybe they're towards like Panhandle, Florida. This is still really early news, so don't, like I said, don't take this, take this with a grain of salt, essentially. Like I said, it's a little bit early for that now, but look at this. Then you start to notice how, like, the Northwest gets a lot of available energy, and that's where we move into the severe thunderstorm possibilities. Alrighty, guys, now the last thing we're going to take a look here at is the overall severe thunderstorm probability. So, like I said, we talked about the big old typhoon that's going to hit northwestern, I almost said Arkansas. Northwestern Australia. Then we talked about the possibility for some thunderstorms here for Easter for today, the overall forecast. We talked about this next, like I said, the subtropical cyclone, as well as now we're moving into the final subject here of the possibility for severe weather. So, anyways, we track our way down here in time. I will note that we are taking a look here at the American GFS model for this. I've also compared this to the European model off film, but they are showing pretty similar overall ideas. So, anyways, we have the cyclone that rolls its way through here for the 12th, moving into the 13th. You notice how the right side here is, having a lot of available energy, possible some water spouts, maybe even some tornadoes could be a small concern. Then look what happens. Now, as we drive our way into the 14th, move our way into the late 14th, you notice how there's a lot of available energy that starts crossing up into the central plains. Could fire off a few severe storms, but my really big concern is once we move into like the late 15th. As you can see, there is a lot of available energy. Now, in terms of severe thunderstorms, you only need these values of 500 and higher. Look at this. Maximum, we're seeing 3,000. That is a lot of available energy out there. So, like I said, that could be enough energy, or it will be enough energy to fire off some severe thunderstorms overall. Now, let me go ahead and grab a sounding, just a quick little sample of the atmosphere here. So, according to that sounding, there is definitely the possibility, I'm seeing a lot of available energy out there. Slight bit of turning winds. I think that a few weak tornadoes could be possible in a sounding like this. Overall, though, I will tell you what, a big concern is the possibility for some damaging winds out there. I think that's a big concern. Now, whenever it comes to this sounding I picked here earlier, out of the same ordeal, there is a big old dry atmosphere there towards the middle levels. So that could actually a cause for some hail growth overall. Once again, the winds are very weak though, and that's kind of the concern. So let's hope that those increase. But overall, like I said, damaging winds, I think, is a big concern, followed by some hail. Now, these are not going to be any long-lived storms from what it looks like. They're probably going to be pretty short-lived. But like I said, it still is kind of the early factor. I mean, this is going to be firing off here for, once again, the 15th here. I'm going to grab another sounding because, like I said, that available energy goes all the way up into the Ohio Valley. We're going to grab one here for basically just south central Illinois here, just to get a sample out there and see what we possibly could expect here. Anyways, but look at that. Wow, that is showing a very, very dry atmosphere. I think that large hail up there could be one of the biggest concerns. The winds are actually a bit stronger there. That is a little bit concerning. I do think a few tornadoes, a few weak ones could pop off there. And look at that, possibly some of that downwards energy, the air that's sinking back down to the surface, which is what causes the damaging winds, really does increase there. I mean, that is just crazy. So overall, damaging winds and hail does seem quite likely. But anyways, guys, that's going to go ahead and wrap up this video. If you guys did enjoy it, once again, make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave a like. It'd be greatly appreciated. It really helps out the channel, my friends. So once again, thank you so much. Once again, you guys, happy Easter out there. I hope you all have an amazing Sunday. Once again, guys, thank you all so much for joining us. We are going to be doing a live stream tonight at 8 o'clock, so just to go over the forecast, we'll do personal forecasts and all of that fun stuff that we usually do on the channel, and I hope to see you guys there. All right, well, once again, everybody, thank you all so much for joining us. Y'all stay safe out there, and we will catch you all here later on. Peace out, my friends. Love y'all. Stay safe.